Sorry, let's do it again.
Good
Good morning. How's it going? Over here, down in my face, where it should be. How's everybody doing?
How is everybody doing out there? Good.
We can wait.
We can wait, yeah.
All right. So I want to harp on weather just real quick, but first I want to take a look at our webcam. Here's a nice look at Higgins and Spruce. Just
Beautiful blue skies.
beautiful, nice skies. It was chilly this morning, but of course that's what you get with clear skies at night. Weather. We go to the National Weather Service. It's currently 46 degrees, and today it's supposed to be the high of 72, low of 42. Saturday it's supposed to be high of 74, Sunday 77, Monday 79, and of course, hopefully the storm doesn't go fast.
Yeah,
Catch up to
hopefully,
us.
Yeah. Hopefully
quickly.
there's some nice weather for all those farmers markets going on tomorrow. First Friday going on tonight. It's
Yeah.
going to be a busy weekend.
And speaking of First Friday, I want to talk a little bit about our artist, Mark Matthews. He has a whole bunch of art, as you can see behind us, in front of
Yes.
us. And I got a nice shot of this. That's one of his art. And this is all from his winter wood carving.
And that's in the studio that we're in right now. It's over there in the corner.
Yep, we just set up in the corner, turn on a
Yeah,
light, shine
all
it
around
right
us.
on it, and here you go.
Yeah, and we have
Mark
another
Matthews.
artist too in the other room, don't we?
Yeah, we're going to have another artist. All I know from this artist is it's something to do with pajamas and stuff. So, I don't know.
Interesting.
They call him the pajama artist. I think that's a good tagline.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it's going to be a new tagline, courtesy of good old Scott.
Good old Scott.
Just drinking out of my MCAT mug.
MCAT mug.
You know, Noelle, as you can see, is not here. Oh, as you cannot see, because she's not here.
There's a void in the center here.
That's what Mark Matthews calls that the vortex, so she might got sucked in that vortex.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. I want to talk a little thing about what we're teasing today. Josh has a couple city council stuff he wants to talk
That's right.
about. But in terms of what are the titles of them? Just
The titles of the city council meeting, it's public health and safety, and the other one is common affairs, or something like that.
community of the whole.
Community of the whole. There we go.
Right.
Thank you, Scott.
Yep, and
Community of
I'm
the
going to be
whole.
talking a little bit about teaching and learning through Missoula County Public Schools. We filmed this the other day, and they had a couple of presentations about teaching and, of course, how early they're starting the International Baccalaureate.
Very
And
nice.
another thing is they appointed a new chair to the board, actually a new old person to the chair, as in, I'll explain later, and then another thing is that school safety is another big thing. I'll talk a little bit about school safety, and I'll have a report for you guys a little bit later. But for right now, I'm going to be talking about what's going to be on MCAT tonight. Tonight, we got our very own Jen and Harold Holmes, Coal Road to China.
Yes.
Their own documentary that they made about the coal trains from Beaver Creek, right?
Otter Creek.
Otter Creek.
Yeah.
My bad. Otter Creek, and the coal trains that come from there through Missoula and all the way to either Portland or Seattle that gets on a ship to go to
Goes
China.
to China. Yeah. And it took them, what, 9 months to do
Took
this
them
documentary?
forever.
No, I mean, not forever. I mean, from shooting to completion, it was something like
Right.
9 months. But they did it all through MCAT. They used MCAT equipment. They went in here for their editing. They got all their training done here. It was
Yep.
really an amazing feat. And they
And you guys
did it
can-
on behalf of Missoula Elders for Livable Tomorrow.
Yep, Melt. Look them up if you're interested in helping out with their program or any future programs with Jen and Harold Holmes and preventing coal trains or getting involved with
Yeah,
it.
and watch that documentary tonight. And if you have an issue that you feel inspired about, you can come to MCAT for just $20 a year. You can come to MCAT
Yep.
and make your own documentary.
And luckily for you, next week is the orientation. So next Wednesday is orientation.
Wednesday.
So we get everyone situated, tell everyone what they need to know about MCAT, about what they can do, what they can't do, which is great because there's not much you can't do at MCAT because it's a First Amendment television station.
Yeah,
You can basically say whatever you want.
yeah.
Anyways, I'm going to talk about mix, and this is the Sustainable Business Council. And if I look at the my calendar, somewhere around here, the schedule is also on MCAT.org if you look at it as well. But this is the beginning business, new models for local living economics. I filmed with the Sustainable Business Council, but this one they're talking about how to start your own local business here. But here's a little thing from Jenny Misk from the Sustainable Business Council.
So one of the things that we'll be doing as our mission of advancing a vibrant local economy built on sustainable practices is helping to encourage conversation about what do we mean by local, what do we mean by sustainable, and how do we agree as a community to come to what that means so that it really is a living economy. So I am so grateful for all of our panelists. Thank you this morning.
And this is going to be like tonight on MCAT at 7:15.
And I want to
And I remember we had Jenny on talking about that panel. Remember?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the future panels, she was talking about what is local, and that's going to probably be on by the end of this month.
Very cool.
But just to know, just so how we can be more of a strict buyer on what we buy, whether if we're looking to buy local, we have to be thought about, okay, so we're buying local, and we're buying from a chain store.
What is local?
Exactly.
That's the big question. What is local?
But anyways, I think I'm going to move on with just a couple quick announcements from MCAT. Then I'm going to pass it over to Josh about city council stuff.
Yes. Community of the whole.
Yep. And I'm going to talk about MCAT summer camps. MCAT summer camps, our media camp and animation camp are full. From
Very
June
cool.
16th to the 20th and July 7th to the 11th. It's all full. There's no chance any of your kids can get in there. But luckily for you, we added a bonus camp. So there's 2 openings for camps, and that's July 21st through the 25th, and then July 28th through August 1st. Those are the 2 camps that still have spots open.
Very cool.
And of course, I think the bonus camp has unlimited spots right now because it's all open. But of course, they fill up quickly, so you better hurry up.
Yes.
And of course,
Great experience for your kids.
And yeah, here's another shot. Here's MCAT's free camp that's happening June 25th through the 27th. You click on it, and you get this little sheet right here, and you can email it to us at mcat@mcat.org. Then again, all our content can be found on Wake Up Missoula. And you can find all the great information about what happened in our last couple shows. We put up the who won the county elections. I put up the primary elections results on our webpage as well, because the elections were on this Tuesday. But anyways, I'm done talking. Josh, save me from myself.
Okay. All right. Well, you're not. I'm on a roll too because I couldn't remember Community of the Whole, so I'm going to make fun of myself for that because it's obviously something that I need to remember. But at any rate, Committee of the Whole. Let's show it. Basically, what they're talking about is they're discussing the spending cap and a sunset provision for the proposed Public Safety and Justice District Number 1, and this discussion was brought up by Adam Hertz and Caitlin Koppel. So Caitlin Koppel introduces her bit on it. So let's listen to Caitlin.
I was just interested in having this discussion with all of you because I'm not really clear on why there is resistance to the idea of a cap, especially if the cap could be set at a certain amount that would more than cover, like what is needed by the department. So I guess maybe just having a little bit more history and an understanding of kind of where that resistance is coming from, because from my perspective, I think it would go a long way toward easing some of the opponents' resistance, I guess, to the idea of an uncapped special district. And also, I guess I'll just leave it at that. I don't have any particular numbers necessarily in mind. I just think this is an important conversation, and it seems like, although there's no media here, people appreciate us at least having this conversation in the open. So, Adam, if you want to add anything, feel free.
So that was Caitlin Koppel, and she was adding her bit on the discussion of a cap and a sunset provision on the special district unit.
Everything in government has to be regulated.
Yeah. Well,
Or
like everything in life has to be regulated by the government. could say.
Yeah, but who watches The Watchmen? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Anyways, I digress.
So yeah, this I don't know. In a way, this is almost they're regulating the regulation. So in a way, but in a way they're
I think they're
deregulating.
basically what she's saying is like we just need to talk a little more about the special district and how much money they're actually going to get from this, what their projection is,
Yeah.
and then like saying, I think that just might be too much.
Right. Right. And then Adam Hertz gives his opinion on this. So let's listen to Adam.
I've heard the idea tossed around by constituents, and in particular, I guess when this district was first brought to the city council, the proposal was largely that it's just a more convenient, cost-effective way to replace asking the voters to approve a bond. And if that's really the case, the big difference between this and a bond, the first being that the voters have to be asked to approve a bond, the second being that a bond is a specific ask amount. This is what we're asking for. If we wanted anything else, we have to come back to you in the future. Well, in my conversation with a lot of constituents and a lot of people who aren't necessarily in my ward, but are citizens of the city of Missoula, they're often surprised that this district includes municipal court and the city attorney's office. It's largely been painted in the media that this is for police and fire, and so I think it may be sprung upon those people at some point in time if the city comes, a couple years down the road comes and wants to ask for several $1 million for a new municipal court building, or wants to ask for a lot of money for the city's attorney's office for, whatever the case may be. And so I think it would go a long way to ease people's concerns to put a cap on this or put a sunset on it, say this is the point in time when we will have, completed what we need the district for, or this is the amount of money that we foresee needing, so that things aren't continually packed into this district that people did not expect up front. And so that's kind of the idea that I see as far as a cap and sunset. I'm a little more interested in the cap and the sunset because I think there are some proposals in here that maybe a sunset might not make sense for, like a long-term lease that I could see being renewed in the future. So that's my thought.
Yeah, so that was Adam Hertz, and he's kind of talking, hey, we might need a cap, we might need a sunset on this. He's more interested in the cap, obviously. But we also have opinion from Ed Childers, who is against what Adam Hertz is saying. He's in opposition to the proposed cap and the sunset, and here's why.
Well, to start with, Adam, I guess you told me one day that you simply oppose a public safety district. And if your position's still there, at least I would know. But a cap, I assume, is since it's not defined, is just some kind of limitation, period. And deciding what kind of limitation that would be probably be a process all of its own. And I don't think it's a good idea. The belief that the public safety district's primary purpose is to allow repayment of bonds to build a building or something like that is, in my estimation, incorrect. The reason the special districts exist and are being utilized by the city of Missoula is that around 1986 a cap was put on property taxes, and the legislature said after that property taxes could increase half the rate of inflation. So naturally the amount of money available to pay for the services people want has decreased over the years, and desire for services has not decreased. In fact, it has increased. So you need some way to fund that. And fortunately, the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, made it possible to do special districts, and we have 2 of them. They've increased year by year, and we found new and
All right, so that was Ed Childers, and he's kind of, he's the elder statesman, you could say.
And he's been there for one of the longest times, and from what I hear from him, he's saying that there's a high demand and there's just not enough supply, as in the supply is the money needed to have the wants and needs of the Missoula County. That's his argument.
Yeah. So then we'll hear from another elder statesman, Alex Taft. So let's hear from Alex Taft. If I can get my mouse to work.
On the bonding issue, it's my understanding with municipal bonds is you do that because you're going to spend a lot of money on something that's not going to go away, like a big building or a road or a school or whatever. And so you do, in that case, say, we are going to spend X amount on this, and we're going to hope that it lasts X number of years, and we want to be specific about this. The districts, however, are for any kind of funding. I believe in the extreme that some people who would wish the cap, it's because they, quote, don't like government. And they would rather have their personal police officer or their fire person and let everybody else fend for themselves. That's not what we're doing here. We are elected by our community, albeit by district, so I represent one 10,000 group that expects us to work together as financial managers of the city to provide resources in the best interests of the citizens of the city. They have the right every 4 years to vote us out of office if they don't think we're doing a good job, as you might have seen in Ravalli County yesterday. A cap is not something that is going to prevent corruption, is going to prevent mismanagement of funds. And I think the reality of having a mayor and council to run the city is that people understand that. And they look to the voting booth to measure the performance of the managers of the city. And I guess that's about what I have to say on this issue. I do want to emphasize that we are here as a community, and we are the representatives of the community. We already have the legal right to create districts. We have shown how we have judiciously used this money for other purposes, parks and roadways. And as we all know, the structure of this government is that about 70% is personnel costs, and most of that personnel costs are fire and safety. And we have been restricted in raising the general.
Okay, so that's Alex Taft, and basically that's the discussion. It seems like there's a desire to put a cap and a sunset on the special district, but it seems as though the people who have been there the longest seem to see the wisdom in the special district. So,
Right.
yeah. So yeah, what's next, guys?
All right, cool. I want to talk about school board. And the first thing I think I got queued up is, so they had to appoint a brand spanking new chair, the person who runs the meetings to say, oh yeah, this is agenda 1, there's agenda 2, and go on from there. So, once again, Jim Sadler was re-elected for another term as chair of the Teaching and Learning section of the Missoula County Public School Board. And here is just what he had to say.
Okay, is there another nomination? Is there another nomination? Hearing none, all those in favor signify for chair, signify by saying aye. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the ability to serve one more year.
And of course, right after that, I'm going to talk about the school safety and what kind of programs they're going to be doing to increase programming. Of course, Burley McWilliams is the guy who gave the presentation on that day, but I'm just going to basically talk about what he talked about, just real quick, kind of give a rundown, and then he's going to give us a quote about, what they're kind of doing in terms of communication. If there's a crisis, then they have better ways of preparing not only, the kids, but the teachers as well, to know what they have to do so they can keep a quick response, kind of keep, like, how, like, police already have, response, so they're going to try to do that with schools. And of course, one of the things that I thought was pretty cool is that they have a red card and a green card. Please ask me what that's about.
A red card and a green card? All I know is soccer. No, I guess red card means stop, green card means go.
Not necessarily. I'll tell you why. Because when you're outside, what they do for one of their drills is they pull a kid out. They just pull a kid to the side, and when they do the regular drill, they take the kids out, and then this was to determine whether or not, if there's a kid that's missing, they'll be able to have a quick response in terms of it. And about more times than not, other kids realize that one of their peers are gone than their own teacher. Mm-hmm. And the red card signifies, oh, there's somebody missing. Green card says that everyone's here, everything's fine.
Okay.
So that's one of the systems that they're doing with the school in case there's a crisis and they have to gather kids somewhere like that. And of course, FEMA is one of the things, is the national thing for safety. What they jumped on board, or they've been on board for a while, talking about how they can keep schools safe and how they have to have at least 6 drills every year, which in terms of, like, they have to have fire drills and they have to have lockdown drills. And you gotta differentiate two, and because like lockouts, the kids have to be like all the lights shut off, lock the doors inside. They have to be in. They are inside the building. Fire, they have to go outside. Uh-huh. But this is what Burley McWilliams had to say about school safety.
If there was some crisis that happened, Sentinel, law enforcement have their own instant command system, and we would have a principal or an ERD there helping communicate back to our Mercy Operations Center. And if they need information on student information, we can get that. If they need a relocation, we can get the buses. So we're there to get the information and help them and be their asset.
And that's what Burley McWilliams had to say. But on a funner note, we had there was a bunch of kids giving presentations about sharks. And as you can see, a bunch of kids showed up with their paper make sharks, and they give a little presentation on them. These are the kids from Lewis and Clark School, and there's a bunch of little quotes from Alex Apostle, the principal of Lewis and Clark, and of course one of the kids gave a mock presentation, kind of like well, not a mock, but more of a presentation. But here you go.
Susan, I would just like to say that I visited Lewis and Clark, and I had an up and close look at what the students have done in relation to this particular presentation. I was very, very impressed, to the point where I thought, well, we've got to go to teaching and learning and even the school board to let them see what our students are doing and how our teachers at Lewis and Clark are supporting inquiry and everything related to their preparation for the International Baccalaureate program. Thank you.
We believe in a constructivist approach based on their experiences and prior experiences and inquiry into a central idea. The students have worked on this project for some months, and one thing leads to another, I must tell you. But when they're doing this, you will notice in all of their work the wonder, the questions, the exploration, the connections, the predictions, the collecting of data, the reporting of findings. They clarified existing ideas that they had and refocused on new ideas that they developed.
Our timeline for the papier-mâché sharks by Aiden Law. At the beginning of the process of making our papier-mâché sharks, we had to research first to see which sharks we thought were the most awesome. We also asked a lot of questions. Some people knew a lot about sharks and were very helpful. they didn't know everything. So we spent a lot of time looking things up in books and on the computer. People in our class brought in a lot of their own books, like Sharkopedia, 1,000 facts on sharks.
And of course, that was a great presentation. For a second, I couldn't hear myself. Let's see. I can hear you. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's good. Okay, so a lot of that.
Sounds a little.
I know, it's really tinny. Yeah, so that's they've given the presentation on it, and I'll just say one more thing, that the International Baccalaureate, they're starting to infuse that, not just with the high school program, but they're trying to do that with
What is the International Baccalaureate?
International Baccalaureate is like an AP, but for international type classes. So you're going to school and you take extra classes specifically geared towards international schools, like international type of learning. So learning a different language, learning about a different culture, history about, like you go take a class of history of China, that would be considered an International Baccalaureate credit. And then by having this, you get a stamp of approval on your high school diploma, or one of your diplomas, since they're trying to implement this in the lower grades, which is great. You know, the sooner you get a kid to learn about international other languages and stuff like that, the better they can retain it. Like more times than not, if by learning another language, that their GPA goes up. There's been so many studies on student development by increasing language, arts, all that stuff. You give them a chance to learn another language. Music is another language, art is another language, but that's the International Baccalaureate.
I see.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Which is basically like AP, but for international schools.
Gotcha.
That's the best way of explaining it.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you have another city council
I have
meeting?
more city council. We can talk about Missoula events.
Let's actually save Missoula events until after that, and then we can tell what people can expect for the weekend.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but we can keep the show going on for a little longer. We don't have to end it at 30 exactly.
What do you think? We should keep it going, or we could hold off on the city council and
We can talk about city council.
Okay.
Because what is this one? Which one of the meetings are there? The safety?
This is the public safety and health committee, and they're talking about the implementation of the pedestrian ordinance. So they're continuing these discussions, and basically they bring in Judge Jenks from Missoula Municipal Court, and she talks about the core problem makers. So these are the transient people who are in the streets of Missoula.
That's true.
She calls them the core because it's a core of people who are causing all those problems. At any rate, we'll hear from Judge Jenks right now.
Now? Okay. I'm always happy to come and talk to you guys. I hope that you're not expecting too much from me today because I don't have any answers. But what I did kind of want to talk about was I guess I wanted to just give you some realistic a view about what happens with these ordinances when they're in place. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what I know you guys have all been talking about for a long time, which is, for lack of a better way to describe it, we could call it the downtown core of problems, the people who are making up the core problems that you guys are hearing about from the business people, and that you're really these are the ones that you're trying to address. So I thought I would bring some of them with me, so I did. These are 5 people I've seen the last couple of weeks who just came to the mind today when I was wondering how we should talk about this. So these are 5 of my friends. One of them has, and these are all people that you would consider part of the core. One of them has 111 charges in the last 5 years. One has just 56. One has 86. One has 84, and one has 193.
Okay, so that's Judge Jenks talking about the core problem makers or the core issues. One thing that they go on to talk about is how they say the Poverello Center, right?
Right.
They're going to be relocating it. Is that going to make a difference in how, because it'll be on West Broadway, will there be less of these core problem makers in downtown? But the real heart of the matter is that the people who use the Poverello Center are not these people who are the core problem makers, the core issues.
Right.
The people who use the Poverello Center are actually people who are trying to seek out help. So it's basically counterproductive to lump all of these people together, because there's a difference between homeless and transient people and between these people who are the core problem makers. And then another thing that they talk about is how alcoholism is almost universal in all of these core problem makers. They all have severe chemical dependency on alcohol.
And one of the big things is that it's not illegal
to drink.
Yeah, you
can't tell a person. The judge said basically the judge can't order someone to stop drinking. It's just you can't really do it. Especially
it's
with
just
these
disturbing
people.
the peace.
Yeah. So another thing that Judge Jenks talks about is how it's the city council's job to apply ordinances, but writing these ordinances doesn't exactly solve the problem. So let's hear what Judge Jenks has to say.
Ordinances that you write, and to do what I hope that you are, and hopefully end up, doing the best I can to interpret those. But I guess I do want, as a dose of reality here, to say that I can fine these people forever. They are never, ever going to pay me any money. So when you guys are writing ordinances to try and address this core group, I think that you need to be aware that there's no way to collect this money. I can set the fines at any rate that I want to. They will not pay. Are not going to come in and pay. I can say it's going to be $5 a month, which is a lot of money for some of them. They're not going, but they can afford it. They're not going to come in. They're going to take the $5 and use it for something else that they want. So I did want to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so that's Judge Jenks talking about how really these tickets that they're giving to these core problem makers, they're not really working because those people aren't paying the fines. They're not.
Well, because the way she said it is that because a lot of them have over 50, 80s to 100s, and I guess once you get past a certain amount of tickets, you're just like, whatever.
Yeah,
I think they're probably thinking about that. They just don't care.
What they did talk about was how it kind of happens in cycles with these core problem makers. Is that they'll get some minor ordinance tickets, and they'll kind of build up from there, and then they'll get involved with something like assault or something like that, and then they'll have to be brought into jail, and then they'll serve jail time, and then they'll be let out, and the cycle goes back again where they do minor things.
Or they leave town. A lot of them just go to the next town.
Yeah, totally. So the other thing that Judge Jenks talks about is misconceptions about the jailing of the core problems. The municipal court deals with the core issues, but there's really not enough jail space for these people.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Judge Jenks.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions that I think that people have ended up with about the jail, and the fact that the jail is full, bordering on full. It is. I guess I do want to stress that there have been a lot of allegations that municipal court has been filling up the jail. Municipal court's been filling up the jail with mentally ill people. Municipal court's been filling up the jail with homeless. And so I did want to take a minute and kind of address some of that. The Missoula County Detention Facility has 396 beds. 144 of those are Department of Corrections beds. 24 are allotted for minors, so they're kids from youth court. There are 21 beds that are federal. The feds pay the jail per bed to always have those open for them. District Court, Justice Court, and Municipal Court share the remaining 201 beds. Municipal Court uses usually around 10% of those beds.
Okay, so that's Judge Jenks talking about municipal court only being able to use a certain amount of the jail space. So they really, it almost seems that they have to fight for every bed.
Yeah.
So here's Jason Weiner. He's going to be talking about what happens to individuals after they break the ordinance several times. Do they go to jail? What happens?
Thank you for being here to talk with us about this. You know, in the context of last week's conversation, some of what came up was what happens with individuals after they are cited for either a violation of aggressive solicitation or pedestrian interference, or some other thing like disorderly conduct. So in the case of the gentleman who you described earlier, who is a mean drunk, when he has an episode like that that brings him in contact with a police officer, what's he charged with? What is his experience prior to being in the courtroom? What's his experience in the courtroom? What kind of penalties are levied against him, and how do those penalties impact his life?
Okay. So, and we'll just chat about him for a minute. Without naming, and I'm not going to, name any names or anything. I think that would be disrespectful to him. But he'll have open container tickets, for example, or blocking or pedestrian interference. He has a large number of open containers, and he'll get cited. They take the bottle. Generally, they give him the ticket. He does not get arrested with that ticket because it's not jailable. So they give him the ticket. It's got a date that he's supposed to appear in court. And then he almost never shows up to court. And then they'll give him another one for a new open container. They'll give him another one for an open container blocking access. And they'll just kind of accumulate, and then he'll do something more serious, and his cycle tends to be that he dries out, and then he starts with the little things, and then he gets more violent. So.
Okay, so that's Judge Jenks kind of again talking about the cycle where it builds up, they violate a lot of these ordinances, but eventually they build up to more serious crimes that send them into jail.
So, I have a question. In this meeting, did they have any, when were they talking about, like, solutions and?
Well, they, I'll jump ahead, and that's a good question, and here's one solution that's been throwing around. I know Jason Weiner's heading the committee on this, and the solution is wet housing, a facility for these people that's not jail, that's not hospital.
And that's, and Polverella is a dry center.
Polverella is a dry center. We don't have wet housing. So really a solution that these committee members are coming up with is funding money into wet housing. So let's hear from Marilyn Marler.
Point that, if we have all these citable offenses, the citation is not having the desired effect. We're talking about people who are living with a pretty serious debilitating disease, and they're not making the same choices that other people would make, because the most important thing when you have an addiction is feeding the addiction. I'm not a psychologist, by the way, but I think a lot of people in the room probably, I have family members and people that I love who are very seriously affected by alcoholism. Someone in my family right now is pretty much almost homeless and hell-bent on drinking themselves to death. And when someone's in that situation, they're just not making the same decisions that other people are. And I think that you've really made that point clear. And it sounds like it sounds like kind of the best deterrent that we have is if we get lucky and we can send them to jail for something, and and then at least they're not drinking during that time, and they're not picking fights with people on the street. But that's super expensive. They're not getting treatment when they're in jail. Maybe they don't want treatment. I just keep coming back to the idea that we've been discussing. We don't have a plan to make it happen, but wet housing, you know, when somebody, I mean, if someone's hell-bent on drinking, I mean, is it better if they're doing it on Higgins or if they're doing it somewhere where it's a stable situation and maybe they could then, once they're in a place, they can then seek other choices if there are some available, which I hope there would be. This isn't a new concept. I mean, other communities have done it. It's expensive to put someone in jail. Would it be that much more expensive per person today to have a homeless facility for people who are actively dealing with their addictions? It's just a really sad and complicated.
So yeah, that's Marilyn Marler talking about wet housing, and that seems to be one of the big ideas that's going around right now.
Kind of making a not necessarily a jail, but kind of like a facility geared towards those who are the troublemakers.
Yeah, and you know,
like,
one of the
is an illness.
A criticism of that is that these core problem makers, they drink, but they're violent drunk. So it might not even help to have this wet facility for the core problem makers, because, you know, a lot of people who are homeless have a drinking problem, but it's these core problem makers who are violent drinkers. They're violent drunks, you could call them. I hate to, you know, say all this stuff, but it's true. It could, basically what I'm saying is wet housing might not even solve the problem, because what's happening is that these certain individuals get drunk and they become violent, and violence in a facility isn't going to help either. But that's my opinion for that, and it doesn't represent MCAT or Charter Communications or the City of Missoula.
And I agree. I mean, like, sometimes it's always like, you can't always throw money. You can't always just throw money. You have to find the right people who know this, who have experience. Like, if Missoula could get a consultant on this. I mean,
yeah,
like,
they already have
other cities
have homeless. They have like a homeless team that goes out and helps with these people, and I know that's been a lot of that's been very beneficial as well. But yeah. But yeah, so it's really it's almost like what would help is people taking it individual case by case, just working with these people, and it's just really in the end it's really sad. But you know, critics will say that we're giving more rights to the troublemakers than to the people who actually deserve
and
rights.
Also, one of the things that's just building a bigger Poverty Relax Center, people will also say if you build it, they will come. More people will come.
Yeah.
But of course, like the judge said, you know, like, it's a case-by-case basis. You can't treat it as a whole. There's the transits, then you got the regulars, homeless. Like, we have our own regular homeless that come in MCAT now and again.
Yeah.
But then, like, you can't help them. Like, a lot of times you just can't, like, get to the point where you just say, hey, you know, like, I'm going to be your inspirational guide. I'm going to basically, if you follow me, like, everything will be fine, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't work that way. You can't just force somebody to do something they don't want to do. And they're just so used to the way their life is right then that they have to, in a way, kind of be tricked without seeming like you're forcing them to do it. That's just my own opinion. You have to put yourself in a situation where it's not like, you know, a lot of times you're going to have to make yourself uncomfortable with these kinds of situations. And you got to, like, we have so many of them now, and they're going to increase, and there's going to be a large revolving door of transits in Missoula, because it's nice. Missoula's great. People love Missoula. People travel through Missoula all the time. It's always a great place to go.
Except in the winter. I wouldn't want to be transient in the wintertime in Missoula, but at any rate, I guess, what's next on the agenda?
On the agenda, I'm going to talk about events, what you guys can look forward to during this weekend. I'm going to start off with music from Little Smokies.
Because they are playing this weekend.
Fell asleep on the side of the road.
So I'm just going to have this play in the background. I don't have to show them.
Okay.
So they are going to be playing
The Old Post.
The Old Post, which is just around the corner from MCAT. And
7 p.m.
At 7 p.m. tonight. And many other events are also coming around. We have a Blessing Way, First Friday with Melanie Yazzie at the Missoula Art Museum. I'm going to have to turn this down just slightly. Explore Mayhem on First Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. and few exhibitions. Exhibition? No.
Exhibitions? Exhibits?
Yeah, actually, it's exhibitions.
Exhibitions.
In 6 galleries. There's so many galleries. A great place to go. They have wine, beer, and non-alcoholic beverages. They have a great variety of art, and I'm going to show a real quick picture. Hopefully it loads. This is the example of the artist that's being showcased this Friday.
Cool.
And of course,
a lot of great art going to be happening tonight in Missoula.
Do you have anything? Do you know of anything else that's going on First Friday?
I know that of course, there's MCAT First Friday.
Right over there?
Right over there, yeah.
And of course, right behind us.
Right behind us, and I know there's going to be a lot of other organizations are going to be open up with art galleries, so that'll be great. I know that Saturday morning, tomorrow morning, there's going to be multiple markets that Missoula.
The farmers market, Missoula's farmers market, the People's Market.
Yep.
And the Under the Bridge Clark Fork River Market. A lot of just great stuff. And I want to see. I saw that there's something going on at Caris Park tomorrow as well. Let me just scroll down here real quick. Because there's always something at Caris Park. It doesn't look like. Of course, I'm looking too fast and I have to keep the show going. But of course, they have a lot of great stuff. There's the Van de Graaff generator, Wiggle Worms from Spectrum Discovery Center.
Nice.
$3. It's from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. $3.50 per person, and children 3 and younger are free. Open. Yep. So it's open to the public. Van de Graaff generator, Wiggling Worms, which is cool. It's just
Very cool.
It's just another many of the activities that Spectrum offers, and a lot of construction, a lot of hands-on learning for kids.
Yes.
Anything else that you know about?
Nothing much. I think there's going to be some 5Ks happening for. There's a 5K happening for the benefit of shelter dogs and cats. So, that's happening.
Oh, the Hasslers are going to be playing at Draftworks on Saturday, June 7th.
Very cool.
And they played with us in a concert not too long ago. No, I don't need to show that right now. I'll show it some other time. Because we are running out of time.
Yes.
Of course. I just like saying that because I just want to wrap up the show. But once again, Mark Matthews is going to be here in the studio talking about his art, showing his art, being here. You can ask him questions. He's selling it too. He always has a nice list of selling his art here as well. So you have a nice vortex, a couple other things. This thing in the corner, I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is very cool. It's like an Asian rice paddy worker.
Mm-hmm. And he carved a lot of this himself.
Yeah,
he did this
he carved all of himself, right?
All himself. Yeah. All this winter.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have another artist in our art gallery, which is the White Room with the wood flooring. You can't miss it. We're gonna have food, hors d'oeuvres, beer, wine, non-alcoholic drinks as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I think that's it for me. Anything else you want to give a shout out to?
No, I'm good for today. So just thanks for watching, and I'm Josh Menny.
I'm Scott Ramf.
And we'll see you guys later. Have a great weekend.